Hey everyone, welcome to the Commissioners Clubhouse and the LCC Network. We're here for part 2 of week 9 and a highly intense week, if you will, for matchups. And we've got some other stuff to cover with you guys too. Jameson, what's going on?
Hey, yeah, man, I'm excited. Week, like you said, week 9, episode 2. This is our stardom sit-in episode. Like we promised, we've got more players for the start and the sit that we might not be able to go as in depth on each of them, but more of them. So that way there's kind of more advice and trying to touch on more people's players and whatnot. We've also got weekly matchups, and we'll touch on some of the playoff implications. And then my locked and loaded DE MVP. So there's a lot to get through, so we can kind of jump straight in if you're ready, Pat.
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. So we'll start with the stardoms. So the first guy I've got here, Latavius Murray this week. He was just picked up off waivers, at least in our conference. And I did all this before waivers, so I was pretty confident somebody would. But they're playing the Lions. Lions have a horrendous rush defense, and Latavius Murray's been on fire lately. Getting, I think, in the end zone 3 straight weeks in a row, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's had 4 touchdowns the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, so he's definitely a stardom against a team that they should be leading most of the game. So if you got him, start him. I think Cameron actually picked him up on the waiver wire and is playing against you, Pat. So
yeah,
good luck
I don't
with
blame
that.
them. They've got the 30th best rush defense, and if you look at similar crappy rush defenses, I mean, he put up 45 against the Cardinals in week 6. So, no, I'd feel pretty confident in him too. Yeah, if you got him, you should definitely be starting him.
Yeah, I've got Kenyon Drake also in the running back format there. Last 4 weeks, 37, 20, 26, 36. He's been on fire. And they get a Jets rush defense, which has not been very good, and a situation where they're favored. I believe they're at home as well, so they should be able to be up. Even if they're not, he's not game scripted out. He can catch passes sometimes. So even as much as I hate to say it, because I said that he was junk most of the season, he's been on fire lately, and I definitely think he's worth a look, especially with this bye-apocalypse we've got this week with the 6 teams on bye. So definitely look at him. Cortland Sutton, I won't spend a lot of time on him. We talked about him yesterday. Demaryius Thomas is gone. Cortland Sutton's been a red zone monster. I would not be shocked if he catches a touchdown pass and probably 80 yards, 90 yards this week. So I saw him picked up on the waiver wire this week as well, which was pretty smart. And I'm sure that teams will be firing him up heading into week 9. In fact, I do see him on some starting rosters already. So that's not surprising at all. DJ Moore, Patrick, so Panthers fans should rejoice. It looks like he's actually going to be a legit threat finally after half the season. I don't know. Let me pull this up real quick. I don't have his numbers from last week, but it was a career high in snaps, which I think is really important. He had almost as many snaps as Devin Funchess, 32 fantasy points against a really good pass defense.
Imagine what it's
going to be. And this week they're going up against Tampa. Yeah, exactly. Tampa is literally either the worst or next to the worst pass defense in the league. So I wouldn't be shocked. And I mean, Devin Funchess, of course, you're going to fire him up, but I wouldn't be shocked if DJ Moore breaks one off. A long run like he's shown that he's able to do. I like him a lot. He should be started if you've got him. So that's really it for the offensive guys. Some of the defensive guys that I like this week. Terrell Casey, defensive end in Tennessee. They're playing the Cowboys, and Dak Prescott is one of the most, I think he's a top 10 sacked quarterback. And Terrell Casey was pretty solid most of the year. They were on bye last week, but up to that point, I can pull this up real quickly. Up to that point, before the LA game, he had 27, 21, 35, 49. I mean, it's a guy who's been getting sacks on the season. He played pretty well. So don't hesitate to start him up either. But Christian Kirksey, linebacker in Cleveland. This is a guy that you traded for.
Yeah,
right,
traded
Pat?
for and then got rid of. I'm trying to remember. Probably maybe 3 weeks ago or so. I ended up getting rid of him just because of the inconsistency I was seeing from him. But he's had 2 really good games this year. Last week was pretty average for a linebacker in our league. He's got a good matchup though against the Chiefs. And realistically, where Kirksey's been getting his points, believe it or not, unlike most linebackers, is against teams that throw the ball really well. You look at the Baltimore Ravens, he had 33 points against them. You look at the Buccaneers, he had 52. Last week against the Steelers, he had 25. And now he's got the Chiefs. So I would imagine, you're probably going to get anywhere between high 20s to mid 30s from Christian Kirksey this week. I think it is a pretty solid matchup. Although I still think he's kind of a boomer bust linebacker this year.
Oh yeah, he's definitely kind of up and down. But again, with so many teams on bye this week, I mean, I'm one of those teams just kind of struggling, just scraping linebackers together to get started in week 9. You could definitely do worse, and apparently people agree with us because he was picked up off of ad drop tonight, just a few minutes ago, and has already actually been plugged into starting lineups, at least in our conference. So apparently people agree with us there. But another linebacker that I actually like this week, I know we've kind of given him crap all season, Von Miller against the Texans. Deshaun Watson, like we've talked about, is one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league. He's dealing with the chest injury, the lung issue. He's not – I don't think he's really in a condition where he's going to be doing a lot of running. At least he didn't last week in Miami. So I would not be surprised if Von Miller gets home at least once in this game. It's going to be in Denver, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it is.
So the Broncos are at home. So this is one of those games I actually feel comfortable at Mile High. I mean, if you've already got a lung issue, I mean, Mile High is not going to make it any easier, with the pressure and things like that. I mean, he couldn't even fly on a plane a couple weeks ago. So this is one of those games I actually feel comfortable firing up Von Miller, even though he hasn't performed well in the last week.
I could see this being a two-sack game for Von Miller, kind of similar to what he did to Arizona 2 weeks ago. I think this is a really good matchup.
Exactly, and even Bradley Chubb. I mean, he was your rookie record 2 weeks ago, I think. I mean, this may be the game for him if you've got him. I know he was picked up last week, so if you've got him, maybe you can look at him as well. But finally, Devin McCourty. They're playing the Packers. This is going to be an absolute shootout, just passing galore in this game. So I'm looking forward to Devin McCourty probably getting at least a few tackles with Aaron Rodgers passing the ball. So, but yeah, with that, we'll jump straight into the sit-ems. If you don't have anything else to add,
do it. I believe Chris Carson's first up on the sit-em list here. Jameson, what made you put him on the sit-em list?
Well, because they're playing the Chargers defense this week, and it's been pretty solid all season long. And also, I know it sounds kind of weird, he hasn't had 2 good games back to back. And last week he had 36 fantasy points in Detroit when he was my start on last week. I just don't trust him this week. The Seahawks threw the ball a lot last week, and I think they'll be doing that against the Chargers again this week. Or it could be a Mike Davis game. He just hasn't done it twice. And I don't trust him.
I think it depends on the game flow of this. I go back and I look at the Rams game. He put up 31 against the Rams. He put up 36 against the Cowboys. 2 teams that have a good run-stopping defense. But then when he played the Raiders in Week 6, he only had 12, and they were one of the worst rushing defenses in the league. So he's very inconsistent at times. He's completely dependent on carries. He doesn't get many catches. So that's what I'm saying. If the Seahawks are able to manage the clock, Carson could have a good game. If they're playing from behind, I think Carson's going to struggle to do a whole lot in this week 9 matchup.
Yeah, I mean, against the Chargers, who knows? I mean, they are favored, but the Chargers coming off the bye. They've got a pretty strong defense. I mean, he could definitely have a big game. I'm just not very confident. And if I have other running backs, I'm looking other directions. Like I said, Latavius Murray, Kenyon Drake, anywhere else really, I can pick up another guy. But Matt Breida is my next guy. I shouldn't have to say this, but don't start Matt Breida. I don't know why I still see him in lineups places. He's been atrocious. He can't stay healthy. Every single week it looks like he destroys his body and goes out on a stretcher and then comes back in the next place. I don't understand the Matt Breida injury situation and why he keeps getting hurt and keeps playing. I don't get it. 9 points last week, 2 points the week before. Don't start him. I don't know why I have to say this, but don't do it.
I will say this about Matt
Breida,
Breida, though. This is the worst run stopping defense they've played since week 2 against the Lions, where he got 44 points. I think, if you're going to use him, it sounds crazy. If you're going to use him, though, this is the best week to do it, because after this, it starts getting worse and worse throughout the rest of the season. But no, I'm with you. I still wouldn't trust him as a starter in my lineup. He could go off, but it's just really risky because of how injury prone he is, and it's a little sketchy.
Exactly. If he was healthy, I'd be like, yeah, this is an awesome matchup. But I'm not sure he they're going to be even close to the Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to blow them out. I'm not sure he even stays healthy. Just way too many question marks for me. My next player here is going to sound a little controversial, but I've got Keenan Allen on my sit this week. And if you can't sit him, at least temper expectations. They're playing the Seahawks, who are one of the best pass defenses in the league. We saw it last week with everyone basically but Marvin Jones. Kenny Golladay, 3 points. Golden Tate, 13 points. Marvin Jones had a couple of long passes, but everyone else got shut down. Keenan Allen didn't do much against Tennessee. I mean, his best game was in week 1 against Kansas City when they were chasing points. I just don't see him having a big game in Seattle. If you can start somebody else, maybe a Robert Woods or someone like that, which sounds weird because these two guys were traded for each other earlier in the season. But I just don't like him this week at all.
Ethan, you got anything to say about Keenan Allen? It's really weird to say this. But I pulled up the wide receiver rankings in our fantasy league at least, so you won't see it. Well, it's probably the same anywhere you look. But realistically, Keenan Allen's production and some of the receivers and stuff in that team, they're really not far off from each other. It's strange to say that, but he hasn't been over the heels great this season like he has most years, at least. It's kind of strange how teams have been able to just key in and really shut him down for the most part in most games. Like Tyrell Williams has scored 130 for the year, and then when I go to Keenan Allen over here, he has 142. I mean, that's crazy when you think of the value, what you had to get or give up to either keep him or draft versus Tyrell Williams. Like, that's nuts.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And I'm so over the season, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed this week. Calvin Ridley, another receiver, I'm not really looking forward to. I think this is a trap game for the Falcons, man. They're in Washington. The Redskins defense has been really good. It's a really good pass defense, and I really think they're going to be ahead most of the game. I don't see Calvin Ridley getting a lot of opportunity even before the bye. 3 weeks before the bye, 10 points, 12 points. Outside of that big game against the Saints, he hasn't really been that effective. I know people are going to be tempted because he's kind of that boom guy. But
the only thing about that statement, though, is that the Washington Redskins have been notorious this year of really playing almost all their games relatively close. They haven't run away with any of them, and no one's really destroyed them either. I really think this will be a close game between the two teams. So I kind of disagree with you here with Calvin Ridley. I kind of like him. I'm not saying he's a stardom. I wouldn't really put him as a sit-em either. I feel like he's more of like an in between guy this week.
Calvin Ridley or DJ Moore?
No, this week no. I'll take DJ Moore. Give me any Panther receiver this week. Like, it doesn't matter who. Like, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Calvin Ridley or Tyler Lockett?
I'll take. This might sound crazy. I'll take Calvin Ridley. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just kind of seeing where you are on him, just because what you said, but yeah, he could have a good game, but I'm not expecting it. I think
consider he's a must. He's definitely not a must start. But I'm not saying you should definitely bench him either. I'm kind of in between.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we'll jump on into our defensive guys here real quick. Danielle Hunter is a guy I've gotten to sit him this week. 6 points in New Orleans last week, and I think this continues. Just like Drew Brees, Matt Stafford is not sacked very much. In fact, he's the 22 highest quarterback sacked, which is surprising. They've actually had a pretty solid offensive line. The run game's getting going. I don't see Danielle Hunter. I mean, Everson Griffin's back. He was out for a few weeks. Where Daniel Hunter really kind of took over. I mean, you don't have to sit him, but again, temper expectations. I don't think they get to Matt Stafford a lot here. Zach Brown, he was the number 2 linebacker last year.
You know where he ranks in terms of linebackers this year in fantasy? Below or above 50? What do you think? Yeah,
he's looking at his numbers, probably below.
He's 51.
He's only had one game
he's
over 21.
He went from second to 51. This man has just dropped off the face of the earth. I'm so glad I did not draft him. I literally considered it, and I'm so glad I did not draft him. Like,
yeah. We got very, very, very close, I think, in a couple of them. This right here is for Zach Brown.
Please not do anything awful for 5 seconds.
So I've actually seen him taken out of lineups before, after I put this in, but before our podcast. So apparently people are having the same kind of thoughts against him. DeMonte Casey, I actually have as a sit-em. I've actually had DeMonte Casey at start-em before, and he's done really well. But I have as a sit-em. The Redskins do not throw the ball deep at all. In fact, Alex Smith has not had more than 200 passing yards in the last 2 or 3 games, and they've been ground and pound every single week. I don't think they go deep. I don't think DeMonte Casey has a lot of opportunities this week. If you have to start him, but I wouldn't feel super confident about it.
It depends. You know, Casey's been extremely hot up until the Giants game, which is a little surprising to me because I felt like he was going to have to kind of guard that perimeter and watch for Saquon Barkley. But, you know, he put up 53 against the Steelers, and you look at James Conner, what he's done on the ground. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of like you, though. The Redskins' offense is not very flashy at all. They win games because of their defense. So I could see KZ taking another hit, maybe similar to what he had in that Giants game, unfortunately for the teams that have him.
Yeah. And finally, kind of similar situation here, Jaquiski Tartt. If he even plays this week, he left the game early last week. If he even plays, I wouldn't start him. The Raiders are going to run the ball a lot in this game. I think they're going to get up on the 49ers, especially if CJ Beathard's out, because I think he tweeted something this past week. The Raiders do not go deep, even though they're in the top 15 in passing offense. It's because they're always playing catch-up. When they can, they run the ball. And I just don't see Jaquiski Tartt getting a lot of opportunities this week. So if he even plays. So just monitor him. But yeah, Pat, let's jump right into our weekly matchups here. That's it for Stardom Sit-em. I think we'll kind of use that format. I like that format. Let us know what you guys think.
And, you know, we did it in a pretty relatively short amount of time, considering we went through 18 guys. I mean, that was pretty fun. Let us know what you guys think, too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, what we got for matchups
with the game of the week, which puts us in the Top Shotters Conference first. And I felt it's kind of fitting since we started with our conference and the playoff projections in the first part of this. But no, the game of the week, there is a deep history between these two teams. Goes back all the way from really the start of the league, actually. You know, it's going to be a primetime matchup, if you will. Primetime players, Daquan playing against Steel Curtain, that is Cody. You're looking at right now the number 1 and number 2 seeds in the playoffs, at the moment at least, facing off against each other. They played each other 10 times in the past 9 years. In fact, up until, I want to say it was probably up until like 2014, these teams were in the same division every year. Anyways, Daquan leads the overall series 6-4. I think this is, historically, this is a good game. There's a lot on the line for both teams. Daquan has a chance to kind of dethrone Cody, if you will, to get that number 1 seed potentially. and Cody's in the driver's seat. He wins this. He essentially, I mean, not mathematically, but realistically, locks up the number 1 seed.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm really looking forward to this game right now. It's just a 3-point spread, which is awesome to see that it's projected to be that close. Daquan, I think he's got a lot of good matchups. He could definitely give Cody a run for his money here. And like you said, it's going to be pivotal heading into the playoffs. If Cody loses here, they're tied, right, with Daquan owning the tiebreaker. And if Cody wins, he's what, 2 games ahead
and
with 3 left, and he owns a tiebreaker. Which and he's got no points. I mean, that basically
doesn't officially lock it up. But I mean, realistically, though, let's be honest here. There's no way Daquan's going to be able to surpass him after that. Especially considering, you look later in the year, Cody's got Kyle. Kyle's probably going to lose that game. Daquan's got Isaac, and we all know Isaac's been really good lately. So I don't see that happening. By the way, last time these 2 teams played each other, week 4 of 2017, Cody ended up putting a beat down on Daquan, 334 to 166. I don't think the spread will be anything like that this week, at least hopefully not. The last time Daquan won was week 6 of 2016, winning 208 to 125. So I mean, realistically, they've had close games in the past, but lately they have not been very close. And actually, here's another fun fact: Cody has never won back-to-back games against Daquan since 2012 or 2011/2012. Cody won in 2011. 97 to 92, and then 2012, 95 to 93. Like I said, it's been a while since Cody's kind of gotten on a streak against Daquan, so it'll be interesting to see if he can put another one on him.
That's going to be a really good game, man. I'm excited about that one. That's a good pick for a game of the week. Hopefully it's going to be as good as some recent game of the weeks have been too. So, cool. Well, who do you want to jump into next? I mean, someone in the top 5.
Let's go over to Secure to Pound versus Hunter of Champions. 2 polarizing teams, I believe. Hunter of Champions on a 4-game win streak at 6-2. Secure to Pound at 3-5. Won last week. They've only played each other one other time. That was week 6 of last year. Hunter of Champions won 282 to 177. That was another beatdown. I could see it happening again this year. I don't see any way Hunter ends up losing this game. I think he's pretty much in control of his own destiny at the moment.
Yeah, right now it's a 65-point spread, although Kevin hasn't set his lineups. He's got 3 guys out. So if he changes that, maybe there's an opportunity to pull that closer. But yeah, Hunter, man, he's been on fire. Is he – I'm not sure where he is in his division. Is he leading? Yeah, he is by 4 games. Yeah, so he is pretty locked and loaded in that playoff spot. So the only thing he has to fight now is apathy.
And this is a big week, really, if you will. The big 4 of that conference, the power rankings. You got Cody at the number 1 spot in power rankings, Mufali at 2, Daquan 3, Hunter 4. But think about this, not even power rankings, but playoff projections. Daquan loses this, Hunter of Champions wins this. Hunter of Champions is now at that 2 seed spot, and Daquan drops all the way to the 3rd seed. Jordan could at that point be 1 game behind him in the division, which would be extremely scary. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Think about that swing. Daquan could either go from leading the entire conference and taking control of the number 1 seed to being 1 game to being out of the playoffs if Jordan were to win the division. Like, that's a big swing. I mean, this is a big game for them, for all of them.
And let's not kid ourselves. At least 2 teams from Cody's division are making the playoffs. At least 2, possibly 3. So it's so essential for either Jordan or Daquan to win that division.
Yeah, because the second guy may not get in, depending on how Colby and who else is that? Is that Mufali?
Who are you
I can't
talking
remember
about?
off the top of my head, but
Yeah, it's Mufali,
in Cody's division.
Colby, and Cody.
Okay, yeah. So all three of those guys could definitely make it. We were just talking about them yesterday. Awesome. Yeah, that's a good one to look forward to then. Awesome.
This one,
Cool. Well,
we
who's
really
next?
considered this game of the week, everyone. Michael versus Charles. No, I'm just kidding. No.
I was about to say,
between the two teams, they have 3
Like,
wins. I'll put it this way. That's Cody has more than double that by himself between both of these two teams. So it's the last time they played each other was week 11 of last year. Charles actually ended up winning I wouldn't say it was close, 258 to 226. So I don't know. Michael, his team's a little bit better than I thought it was. I could see him possibly being 3-6 at the end of this weekend. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe Charles pulls out another upset.
Yeah.
Is that really an upset though? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like. I don't think no matter what happens, this game could be an upset either way.
Really? Okay.
Charles. Yeah, I don't like Michael's matchups. The spread right now is in Michael's favor by 36 points, but Charles hasn't even set 3 of his people though. So I mean, he's going to get like a 60-point gap back, and then take Michael over as far as projected points go. I don't like Michael's matchups at all. People go through it and look at it. I think they'll agree. Dak Prescott, Lamar Miller, Antonio Brown against the Ravens, no thanks. And Ndamukong Suh, I mean, has he even done anything this year? I haven't even looked at him at all. 10 points every single week the last 3 weeks. Probably not anyone I'd be starting. Jadeveon Clowney, Clay Matthews. Yeah, I don't want any part of Brent Grimes, Patrick Chung. Exactly. I mean, your giggles over there on the other side tell me you're going to know about who I should pick in this game.
I will say this: if you're Michael, there's some guys in your free agency right now that are probably better than what you got. You may want to take a gander when you get a chance.
Yes. Yes. Take a gander. Peep around, whatever you have to do with your eyeballs to try to find somebody that's worth starting. Right, so, I feel like we pick on those guys a lot. I don't want to sound so mean either. So it's okay. Listening. That's true. We need to pick on ourselves some more too. I think maybe to kind of lighten it up a little bit.
Shortly when we get to my
I don't
game.
want to hate us.
This is actually another big rivalry game. We've got some pretty big matchups this week, to say the least. Jordan, who's 4-4, right there in the heat of possibly. I know he's 2 games behind Daquan, but I really feel good about his team right now. He's sitting at 4-4, playing against Matt, who's 2-6. I think I think his team's a little bit better than what his record shows. I think he's just had some unfavorable matchups against certain opponents. Overall, Matt leads the series 5-2. This will be the 8th time they've played each other. Last time Jordan won was week 7 of 2016, and Jordan won a very close one, 208 to 202. But it's funny, they haven't played each other since the playoffs of week 16, where Matt got his second championship. He absolutely destroyed Jordan in the playoffs that year, 148-84. So, rematch.
Man. This one, I think I like Matt in this one a lot. His matchups are way better. Jordan's got a lot of buys. He's suffering that buy-apocalypse hard. Joe Mixon, Saquon Barkley, Chandler Jones, Jesse Bates, who we just talked about as your rookie record this week. And he has no depth right now because he's got a lot of buys. He's got Quan on injured reserve. I mean, Jordan, he might just have to throw the week, with all the buys he's got and just kind of move on. But I like Matt a lot in this one. And the point spread right now is recommending the same thing, 110 points in Matt's favor. But Jordan hasn't set his lineup yet.
So you're picking Matt to win this one? Wow. That would be
I'm thinking Matt.
That would definitely help Daquan significantly in case he ends up losing. But and it would help Matt obviously because he's still not eliminated from the playoff race as we mentioned the previous episode. So next matchup, Mr.
Absolutely.
300, that is Colby versus Abortion Clinic. Actually, opposite records. Colby's 5-3, and Abortion Clinic is 3-5, and we're all just kind of waiting for Abortion Clinic to, get back with the steam. The last time they played each other was week 14, so that would be the divisional round of last year. Colby ended up beating him 245 to 208. So if David, I really think his team overall isn't too bad. It's just like we said, there's been some times where either he set his lineup for the late or maybe he just didn't set his lineup. But those kind of self-inflicted injuries have kind of hurt him this year.
Well, actually, we've got some breaking news. Abortion Clinic has set his lineup this week. I see, and in fact, he's got a lot of matchups I like. I see the Devon Miller in there we talked about, Devontae Adams, Alvin Kamara, Derek Carr, who I like a lot. And he's projected, even when Colby sets his lineup, he'll be projected like 20 points over Colby. So I think that deserves a little bit of celebration. Woo! Because David is back. It's fun to pick on him. But yeah, I actually like Abortion
This is probably my upset of the week is David pulling off an upset over Colby. Colby's team has been playing very average, I believe, for the past couple of weeks, despite his record being at 5-3. Yeah. I think David could actually end up winning this and putting his name back in the hat for division title talks.
Oh, you know what that is? That's a dirty take.
Thank you, Scarlett. Thank you.
Thank you, Scarlett. Yes, thanks for joining the show as our special guest since Cameron couldn't be with us tonight, unfortunately. We didn't even address that. So last game of the conference, we've got Mufali and Storm. 16-point spread right now.
This one looks like it's going to be a good one. Storm's been in the league since 2011. Mufali's been in the league off and on since 2014. Last time they played each other was week 11 of last year. Mufali won 283 to 237. But the first time they played each other was 2014. Storm ended up putting a beatdown on them 197 to 109. I'd say things have turned drastically in terms of how much better Mufali is compared to his rookie year.
Yeah, he's having a good season. Unfortunately for him, he's in the same division as Cody, which is going to make it tough for him to get a bye. He's going to be in that wild card round. But he's been pretty good. He's got the point spread in his favor right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if he wins. But I also
Storm's in a 3-game losing streak. He's got to turn it around because David's only a game behind him at the moment. And for a while, I thought Storm might run away with that division, but now it's so close. And like I said, I could see Abortion Clinic pulling out an upset over Colby. Storm's this is a must win for him. Yeah, it definitely is because I definitely don't see two teams in that division making the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I agree. I absolutely agree.
All right.
Cool. So you want to jump into
the Elite 12?
The Elite 12?
Let's kick it up. This game, at first, I almost considered this being possibly game of the week. But actually, Jameson, you versus Billy, you're 6-2. Billy is 5-3. You're in a 4-game winning streak, running hot right now. This is the third time you guys have played each other, actually, 3 years in a row. Last time you played was week 3 of last year. Billy ended up winning 242 to 218. But then the first time you guys played each other, you ended up winning 226 to 157. So, yeah, there's a lot of parity there. I think this game will be pretty close for you guys. I haven't looked at the matchups in depth as I'm sure you have since this is your game. So you can probably provide a little bit more.
Yeah, he's got a lot of good matchups.
More insight than I can.
Yeah, a lot of good matchups. Zeke is back from the bye. J.J. Watt has been solid. Luke Kuechly's against Tampa. He always has a good game against Tampa. Kevin Bayard and Derwin James are back in. Billy had a lot of players on bye last week and still scored more than anybody in our conference. I'm not super, super confident, but it is a pivotal game for sure. I'm at the number 2. He's at number 3 right now. If he beats me, he jumps to 3, or 2, I jump to 3. If I beat him, I almost guarantee myself a bye. So this is a very big game. He does have Demaryius Thomas in, which is weird considering he just got traded to Houston, and I'm not sure how much he's going to play. But hopefully he won't listen to this until after Sunday so he doesn't take him out. So, and I end up getting to play him. But this is going to be very good. Right now he's got a 10-point spread on me. So 10 points in this league is not really enough to be concerned about. So I don't know. It's going to be close. But had me and Tyler not been game of the week last week, like you said, I think this was in consideration.
There's a lot on the line. I think we probably briefly talked about this in the first episode, but if Billy loses this game, he drops to 5-4. But if Cameron wins the game against me, they're now tied. Although Billy has I think the tiebreaker since they've played each other once. Am I right about that? I think so. They've only played each other once this year.
I think so.
But so Billy, this is a must-win for Billy. This would also propel him into the second seed of the playoffs if he can beat you, and make things a lot harder for you to get to the number 2 seed.
Yeah, it's a big game. Yeah, it's a big game for both of us for sure. I'm not going to talk too much trash. I don't want to jinx it or anything yet. So we'll see what kind of mood I'm in come next podcast next week. So we'll see what happens with that game. Well, speaking of you and Cameron,
that's right.
You want to talk about your game next?
It's
close.
But okay.
7-point spread.
Well, I'll jump into the history a little bit before I say my opinions of the game. So we played each other 6 times. This will be the 7th time we played each other in the past 9 years. I am 4-2 against Cameron. The last time we played each other, it's been a while. I didn't realize this till just now, actually. The last time we played was 2015 in week 7. Cameron won 194 to 172 in a 22-point game. And the time before that beat me was in the playoffs of 2014 in the divisional round / if you will, semifinals, because the playoffs were a little bit different back then, but ended up beating me 148 to 135. That was definitely pretty heartbreaking. So anyways, we definitely have a long history, despite the fact we haven't played each other in a number of years. Here's my deal, though. I look at my matchups. I look at his matchups. We are both coming to this game with our hands tied behind our back, and we're trying to headbutt each other because we are missing so many guys. If Cameron's record is a little bit better, this may have been game of the week 2. But even with that said, we're both coming in missing some key dynamic players in our offense and our defense. I think he's definitely missing his starting running back. I think he's missing AJ Green as well. I think Telvin Smith, maybe I'm remembering that right. But I'm losing both my 2 of my top 3 DBs. I'm missing my number 1 player, Darius Leonard. I'm missing Carson Wentz, my quarterback. My receivers are good God. I don't even think it matters. I haven't even really thought about my receivers. Who I'm going to start? I'm just going to start somewhere. It doesn't matter at this point. So I feel like we're both kind of limping into this. If I had to pick someone, though, I would actually pick Cameron. If I had to bet money on this game, I would bet Cameron wins in a relatively close game, probably within 15 points of each other.
I would too.
And I think it's going to be low scoring.
Like you mentioned.
I really do. I think it's going to be 150 to maybe 165 or maybe 135. No, sorry. So I said 150. So no, 250 to 265 or maybe 250 to 235. I think,
I can see it being lower than that, but it's going to be a tough week. Darius Taylor, I do not like him in Tampa, even though I wanted him so bad.
I don't like him either. But if you go look at the free agents right now, he's literally the best option, especially considering he's playing against the Panthers.
I believe it.
Him and Levante David are going to have to spy Cam Newton all day. So my hope is that they can pick up tackle, or I'm hoping he can pick up tackles that way. But again, I'm not very confident in what he can do this week.
Yeah, and also bad news for you. Isaac's playing Peyton, and he's a 60-point favorite. I don't think I've ever
No.
seen a spread that high from two teams that were actually
Do you
competing with
remember
their
our
lineup set and
preseason
everything.
rankings? Do you remember our preseason rankings where we had Peyton? We had it
Like 9-3
something ridiculous,
or something like that.
and now
All the
he
young
is
talent.
3-5.
Yeah,
and we're at week 9. I mean, the best he can do is
so he's not going
exactly.
to.
The best he can do is 7-5,
9-3.
and he's got some tough matchups.
He will not be. He will not beat
Yeah.
Isaac. He will not beat Isaac.
This actually brings us to the
He
next game.
absolutely will not beat Isaac.
It worked out this
No
way.
way.
But Peyton's on a 4-game losing streak. Isaac obviously lost to myself. There's no 1 game separating him. But if you look for points for average, it's pretty lopsided. Isaac's averaging 296.1 points a game. Peyton's averaging 256.8 points a game. So, yeah, you say 60-point spread. That's not surprising to me. I really think last week was a fluke for Isaac. I think he could score much more than that. I really don't think Peyton's got a shot. And it blows my mind because going into the year, we were so confident in Peyton's team, and I don't see him making the playoffs. That's kind of I may have brought that up in the previous episode, but I'm not seeing it because of how tough his division is. And he's got Isaac, so he can make it worse.
Yeah. Hey, your mic's kind of cutting out a little bit. Are you still there? Yeah, it just sounds like you're a little bit off, a little bit distant, but that's okay. I mean, I can still hear you pretty clearly for sure. But no, yeah, Isaac's gonna just blow him out, I think, this week. But his team looks great, matchups look great. That's not good news for you, but I'm sure Isaac's gonna be pretty happy to hear that. But these last couple of games, we're running a little long on time, so we'll kind of move a little quicker.
My dad and Jade, this one right here has a long history. It's actually, I think, tied for the longest or the oldest matchup in league history, or what tied for the second most. But they played each other 10 times. This will be their 11th game. They're split 5-5. Last time they played each other was week 4 of 2016. My dad won 149 to 136. They played each other in the Little Critter Bowl twice. There is so much history between these two teams. It's crazy to think about. I mean, I'm super excited to see what happens. There's a lot on the line for both these two teams. Jade is trying to win his division. My dad at this point he could still, I think, mathematically win the division. But at this point, he's really more likely shooting for a 6th seed in the playoffs. Yeah,
he's only a game behind the playoffs. So yeah, that's definitely good for him. He's really close in point spread. It's only a 6-point spread right now. And your dad has a couple of players that I liked on the Stardom segment this week. So, he definitely has a shot. Oh man, Jade's been so bad recently, but no man, give me Jade. Give me Jade.
No, I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be kind of like Mike's game versus my dad. I think it'll be very close. I'm going to take.
Yep.
I'm going to take my dad in this because he's got so many Panther players and they're playing the Bucks. I really think my dad is going to have a great offensive game. So I think it's going to come down to Kiko Alonso for Jade. Mark my words.
Yeah. If he gets back on track for sure. Next game, Tyler protect the booty against Bryson, my little girlies. 41-point spread right now, and I'm sorry, Bryce. I know you got your first win. We're all super super excited for you, but man, he's gonna get beat down this week. Absolutely freaking beat down, and I don't want that to happen. Tyler's in my division. I don't want him to win games. But man, the matchups oh my goodness, it's gonna be.
Be glad you're not playing Tyler this week. And I'm kind of with him. I don't even think this will be close. I think it's probably gonna be like a 30 to 50-point spread.
Easy.
No, never.
Not a lot of history between these guys. Bryson's first year. No. Yeah, so maybe if Bryson can pull this out, and I'm cheering for you, Bryson. If he can pull this out, he'll have the 1-0 win on Tyler. So that'll be cool for him. Last game, we've got Kyle and Mike. This is kind of like Michael and Charles. No one's really interested to see this one. Both Mike's vying for a playoff spot. I think Kyle's just kind of vying to stay relevant this late in the year, especially after winning the whole conference last season.
From last year, and they split.
It is. It actually is. Yeah, it is. The point spread is pretty similar. After they set their lineup, it's going to be a really close game. I don't know about their matchups. I mean, of course, I love Todd Gurley all the time, but beyond that, Kyle doesn't have a lot of depth. He's got some injuries. He doesn't have any receiving depth. His backup quarterback, Big Ben, is hurt. So I don't really know. It's going to be hard for him to piece together a good starting roster.
Yeah, I take Mike in this one, although in a very close game. I'm thinking within 10 points of each other.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be close. It'll be really close. Cool. Well, that's it. That's all we have for matchups. I'm really excited about it. Before we jump off, I'm going to do my locked and loaded 100% guaranteed DE MVP. So it's Halloween, but we've got no treats or tricks. Your best start, DE, is Bears lineman Akeem Hicks. So they're playing Buffalo. I'm really excited about him. Whoever's got him, fire him up. I think he'll get a sack or two this week. Pat, before we jump off, I want to say one more thing I actually wrote down on a note here. Terrell Pryor is signing a contract with the Buffalo Bills this week to be a receiver. No, listen, just listen. You gotta listen. I know it sounds ridiculous, but Nathan Peterman's taking over as the Bills' starting quarterback with Derek Anderson nursing a concussion from last week. There is talk that Terrell Pryor may be used in a similar fashion, throwing passes in Buffalo, but you would start him in your receiver slot. Do you have any interest in this at all? Like, are you thinking, like, we saw this with Ty Montgomery a couple of years ago. He was a receiver, but he got running back points. Does that interest you at all? Or should people be aware of that? Or is this something they can just kind of toss aside?
If you're desperate, go ahead and get him. Why not? You know what I mean? Like, if I'm playing right now, sure, plug him in.
Yeah.
Like,
That's my thought. If you need to swing for the fences to beat a guy, get him and see what happens. Maybe not this week, but maybe next week. I could see him throwing passes if Peterman's awful and getting you quarterback yardage as a receiver. Just be aware of that, guys. I think it's something interesting to look at. I'm probably not going to go after him, but just look at it. So either way, we'll hop off, and we'll be back for week 10 next week. Good luck to everybody, and take it easy.